we collaborate worldwide.
Is never ever allowed.
We had the perfectly functional wheelbase, which performs amazing.
Like the DFP15 cannot go at that volume.
So premium force feedback, so affordable.
And doing the right engineering.
DFP15.
Oh my God!
Hey everybody, welcome out there. Today at VRS, we get the opportunity to share with you something really cool. Many of you have asked questions about the DFP15 and the DFP20 and how they compare. So I have with me today Dennis and Frank, both at VRS, and I get the opportunity to share and they get to answer all of the questions that you have proposed. Hopefully these answers will help you in making decisions on what wheelbase or what product you choose in the future. We do believe we have the best product on the market, but we'll let you choose that. So, and as always, if you like what you see here, we always want you to like, subscribe, and follow us and join our Discord, because our community is where we get a lot of the questions that are answered today, as well as we get feedback from you guys to move forward, and you'll get to see some of that today. So before we get started with any questions, the first question we're going to work on is introducing ourselves. You guys already know me, so I'm not going to say anything, but I'm going to start off with Dennis to start. Dennis, tell us who you are at VRS and what you do here.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for inviting me on the podcast. I've never been to the podcast before. I may do stupid things today. We'll see. And yeah, at VRS, I work as a product engineer. So I manage everything product related from start to finish, timeline, requirements. I talk a lot with our drivers, with our customers, and then with manufacturers. And I tried to make two ends meet, you know? And then I also need to make sure that the business end meets as well. So I'm talking to people most of the time, but I come from electronics background. So I was developing electronics before, and at VRS, this grew into more. So now I'm taking care of the products here. That's what I do.
Awesome. Sounds great. Well, I can tell you as a person who's new here, it's been great to meet you and get to understand and learn a lot about VRS. You've helped me navigate this confusing scene, but it's been fun in the process. So, and how long have you been here? Just so before we move to Frank.
Oh, well, is it 3 years or so? Yeah, I think I'm with VRS
Wow.
3 years. Haven't ever calculated this.
No worries. Well, again, it's great to have you on the podcast, and hopefully, again, you'll just educate us on a lot. Frank, now we'll switch to you. Give us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, thanks for having me here. I'm Frank. I'm located in North Germany, and my background is that I'm a so-called technical informatics engineer. That is a direction that was present in Germany, and today it's no longer existing, but you can compare it to a mix of electronics and software engineering or computer engineering.
Okay.
We went to move robots back then, and it was in the 80s. So basically, I started even earlier. Many of you viewers might know the Commodore 64. That was my first baby.
Oh, wow.
So that was quite an evolution. And I was always an employee working for various companies. The most known is NXP, former Philips Semiconductors.
Mm-hmm.
And at 2017, I quit this. Not there, but another company where I was unhappy, went actually into unemployment. And then from that ground, started my own company. And then I think half a year later, I met Peter, owner of VRS. And he was at the process or at the verge of extending his business from just software, like telemetry-based coaching and this kind of stuff, into like naturally extending into hardware products, because he was in the sim racing business. Like that's
right.
The next natural step. And then the two of us literally made the DFP20 together. Mostly.
Oh wow, that's cool.
It was just the two of us. And Peter was at the fair, I think at the Nürburgring. Was it maybe 2018 or so? Met, I think, the CEO of Heusenfeld, and I was asking him like, "Oh, this is the product that you have. Like, what is the team size?" And he said 2. And that guy couldn't believe it, because like they had one order of magnitude more people on the same thing sitting.
Right.
So given the small scale that we started, I really have the feeling that we were quite successful with this first product, well recognized. And so it's the next natural step to move on with deeper integration DFP15, which I also was a main contributor because naturally it's an evolution of the old DFP20. So I was at the heart of it, and now I'm standing here and are ready to answer questions.
That is good to hear. Wow. So you were at the beginning. So so at the creation of this, you were there. Wow. I'm just going to call you Moses instead of Frank from now on. But no, that is awesome to hear. And again, tremendous success to you and everybody here at VRS. So let's get started. So this first question is going to come straight to you, Dennis, and then Frank, I'll let you piggyback on that. But being that Dennis, you play multiple roles here, and as we can tell, you deal with both the business side, the engineering, and just kind of have a dabble in everything. So question is, how are things engineered? Worldwide collaboration, distribution, and how do we work with both sim racing drivers and the in real life driver? So it's a multifaceted question, and if I have to clarify it again for you, do let me know. But yeah, how are things get through that evolution and stuff like that?
Well, that's actually quite amazing. We are a distributed company, so we have locations. Like I have my lab here in Poland, Frank has lab in Germany. We have multiple manufacturing sites, and there we have people in teams, but we collaborate worldwide. And to me, it was first ever experience develop hardware this way, and I can say it actually works, which is surprising. Mm-hmm. And not only we have engineer distributed like that, we also have the rest of the team, the coaches, the drivers, and that's another great thing, having possibility to talk to the pro driver any day, any moment, just hop on a call with them and present them a feature, present them a product, and then ask for feedback. That's great. And when we were starting with developing new generation of products, which is the wheel and the DFP15, we were tightly collaborating with drivers, coaches, and like one of them is in Australia, another one is in Greece, me sitting in Poland, Frank sitting in Germany, and we all find time for the call, and we jump on a call, and then we put requirements together. And I was like, we have to have requirements, guys. Yes, go. So yeah, we work worldwide. We are extremely fortunate to have our drivers on the team. And then, well, the actual development is as usual. So you start with, you imagine what you want, you put it into requirements, you analyze the market, and then you start with prototyping. And then we had last year an event, I think it was closed event. We called it alpha event, where we presented all of our prototypes. And then we asked customers for feedback. And then like at the end of the year, we revealed the product, and then we had some manufacturing hiccups, right? But we finally delivered, and I'm extremely happy that you can actually now experience this stuff.
Yes.
And all of our work came together so nicely.
Awesome. No, I can tell you, being on VRS, it's been nice to be able to be kind of able to see those things as they happen. And then also I get to test stuff. Like, I don't know about anybody else, but it's pretty cool to then say, hey, we have this new thing coming. I want you to test this and beat it up to see how it feels. It goes through all of these iterations. So it's nice to take that route because, again, because we're so spread out, you kind of get 24/7 testing. Because somebody in some time zone is testing something somewhere. So
we actually also get 24-hour development. When we were really in hurry, I was developing during the day, and then China guys wake up and they develop during the night. And then I wake up and we keep going like that. And we had 24 hours development for the steering wheel PCB like that. It was crazy.
Wow. And again, that's how you meet deadlines. Sometimes, having those people in different sectors of the world just makes sense from an engineering standpoint. Frank, for you, anything you wanted to add to that?
Yes, definitely. Because again, credits to Peter, because making a worldwide collaboration of distributed people that don't see each other very often is not an easy task. And he managed to gather people who, all of them, like each individual, is passionate and an enthusiast. And many of them, like, not even sim racing. I, for example, have a race car. I drive on racetracks. So it's not like ordinary employees that you just put in a box and ask them things to do. It's like we are self-driven. And I think this is one of the most key points to make a successful collaboration.
Yeah, everybody jumps in whenever we have an idea, and
Yeah.
coaches as well. Like, oh, this can be better. Oh, this can be better. And I'm often I'm the guy who is like, this is too late. Now we need to start manufacturing. But everybody wants to participate. Really, this is
Right.
such a nice experience.
And again, that's how we bring products to customers. That's how we give them the things they want. And that's why everybody, as we said, if you join us on this ride, your feedback comes into everything. And we'll talk about that here shortly. But that's how we get everything to play in with one another. Your feedback becomes our feedback, which we can relay to the guys you see here. So awesome. Thanks for answering those. So Frank, I'm going to jump to you on this next one, because I think this is something that's very important. All of them are important. But can you explain Newton meters and torque and why it's important to sim racing?
Well, explaining Newton meters and torque, or in wider terms, force feedback, as many sim racers call it, which is not an exact or accurate term. The accurate term is Newton meters. And the technical definition is very simple. You have 1 Newton meter if you have a bar. Oh, I need to turn it around. If you have a bar, the turning point of 1 meter length, and then you pull with 1 Newton. 1 Newton meter is 1 Newton is 100 grams on weight. Like put 100 grams on weight on a 1 meter bar, and that's 1 Newton meter. And so it's the turning force, in other words. And you want enough of that because you want the simulator to recreate the driving experience that you have. Like if you have, like in my case, my racing car is no servo assisted. Like it's a short gear ratio on the steering, and you need real power. So in order to mimic this in the simulator and get a similar racing experience with that car in the simulator, you need the wheelbase to copy that amount of torque or the amount of force, of the turning force. And I don't have exact numbers, but I've heard from our coaches that for Formula One cars, it depends on the driver. The more servo assistance you have, you can adjust this supposedly. Like I'm not a Formula One guy, but this is this is copying from what I myself heard. So the driver can have his preference. Like he can do more or less servo assistance. If he has less servo assistance, then he needs to pull like 100 kilograms, and he needs to train his muscles. And it's a real workout. But the advantage that you have there is that this is also amplifying the turning forces of your front tires into your arms. And that means that the more you get of that, the more you will feel small changes, like a bit of losing traction. Like you can go closer to the edge of losing traction, because that's what you want. You want to use all the traction that you have on the front tires. And
makes sense.
The more you can amplify the force feedback, the more you get of that. Like it's amplifying. You can imagine, like if you have audio, like if you make it very loud, then the softer tones in the small and in the quiet passages will also get louder. You hear more of that.
Right, which makes sense.
Yeah, you hear more of the soft, and you hear more of the strong voices, and that's comparable here.
Okay, so it just gives you more feedback, as you said. It's very, from a sim racing standpoint, yes, it's not a thorough definition to say, well, I just get more force feedback, but it allows you to feel the nuances of the car.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether I feel that the tires are starting to lose grip, that little bit that I might feel as opposed to another driver can give me the edge, as you said, of driving on the edge of the car, which is absolutely great. So is there a Newton meter that's best? Is 20, 25, 30? Because Newton meters, everybody thinks the more is better. And this is going to kind of play into the next question. But again, we know it's important to sim racing. So from your standpoint, being on your side of the table, is there advantage to having 100 Newton meters? So should I just have an endless amount of Newton meters? Or is there just an ideal range to sit in?
I would say it's not endless. Like you don't need more than what you need to copy or simulate any race car that you have. And
Right.
that's why I was emphasizing Formula One, because that's on the high edge. If you really want to train Formula One, because you are an actual Formula One race driver and you want to practice in the simulator, then you want to have the Wheelbase copy what you will later have in your car. And that can go up to 30 Newton meters. Like these are the numbers that I heard. I don't know have the full numbers, like what an actual Formula One car does. Like we would need to rent one and do measurements, I guess. But these are numbers that we get from our coaches, some of them professional race drivers. And so these are the numbers. That's the extreme case. But I don't know. I don't have a Formula One car, and many don't. I guess most don't. So, and if so, you will ride the real car. So that is an edge case. And then the question is, what else do you have that you can drive on a real car, on a real road, on a real track, and want to have in a simulator? And then you can go like classes below that, like Formula 3 or like an open wheeler. Custom race car, which are also not servo assisted, and there you can get numbers like 20.
Okay,
that's
so
realistic.
going from Newton meters to torque, are they synonymous? Are they two separate things? Or
Newton meter is the definition of torque. That is the definition. Newton meter, torque is Newton meters, or force feedback as we call it. That's all the same.
All the same. See, look, we all learn something new every day. Do you want to expand on that, Dennis, in any way?
I would like to add a bit more on that, because
go ahead,
you were also asking what do you need,
right?
And so I would play this back from the other direction, because there is a market. We see what most people are buying, and so you can see a sweet spot, like 6 Newton meters. Not many people buy this. 20 Newton meters, very expensive. Not many people buy this. And the sweet spot appears to be in the range from 12 to 50 Newton meters. That's what most people want. But that's rather not a decision whether what do I want to simulate, like what car do I want to mimic, but what is the best price point? Like of course I can get more, but do I need it? And that's the rationale rather that most people are following.
Well, as an ordinary person who doesn't have a race car, I may comment on this. You not necessarily want always to have such a strong thing in your hands when you play the game. And when you don't have a reference point of the real car at 12 Newton meters, you already feel like, oh, it is so heavy to do. And then if you go higher than that, I heard one of the YouTubers say it nicely. He says that the wheelbase is starting to drive you instead of you driving the wheelbase.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so, for simulating the real cars, I guess the bigger numbers make sense. But for me, as a person who is like entering the sim racing and practicing, I don't feel that I ever want to go that high even. And this is what we heard also from the community. This is what we hear from coaches. I guess one of the coaches who we talk to the most uses 12, does he? I think he limits to 14 or so, and then most of the time it's 12. That's about it. And actually, this is the thing with DFP15. We had much better data than we are just guesstimating right now. We had an actual effort to analyze what market is buying, and we had actual questionnaire to see what people are using. And of our DFP20 customers, not many use it at full force. And so we had to choose the sweet spot for most of the people. And we, as Frank said, we wanted also cost compromise. And so we managed to arrive at like 15 Newton meter as a decision to cover most of the market still. And I think it's perfectly reasonable to drive at 15, even if the real formula car gives you like 30 or something. I wouldn't ever see myself driving at 30 at my home setting. Like, oh, maybe that's too much for not a driver,
Right. Yeah, no, I think I watch a lot of Formula One, and if you look at a lot of the drivers, they're not very big, muscular guys, and they're definitely very fit. You have to be. But I would venture to say that they're not driving the car at 30 Newton meters. Like I've driven our VRS Direct Force Pro 20 at full max force in a race. And for 20 minutes, I mean, you are spent. So I would venture to say, like you're saying, Frank, those servo motors in the car itself are likely just reducing the Newton meters there. So Frank, next one. And this is what I think people need to understand. And I hope you do a great job of explaining it, because people think bigger is better. That's the thing. That's the motto.
I will do my best.
Since Wheelbase puts out 18 Newton meters, right? And I'm not going to name any names, and we put out 15 Newton meters, let's say, in the DFP15. Well, then 18 is better, right? All the time. I should just get the 18 Newton meter base. It's going to be far better than the 15 Newton meter because it's got more Newton meters or more torque or more force feedback. That's the simple answer, right?
Definitely not. It's rather the opposite, and it's actually beyond the scope of what I can try to explain in this video here, because I think I will need to delve into physics for quite a while,
Okay.
which is not reasonable. What I'm going to say is that it much depends. It depends on the size of the motor. That is definitely true. And I'm showing you a part of the motor here. You can see the internals of the motor. That's the rotor. That's where you mount. That's where you mount the wheel turn. So this is the rotating part, and around this there is the fixed part. We call this stator. Like, it's now magnetically tied to it. I cannot move it anymore. The magnets are very strong, but this is essentially the whole motor.
Okay.
And you can see that one piece is cut out here. This is one piece of the stator, of the not moving part. You can see it here, and you can see the copper wires going around there, coiled.
Okay.
And a lot of the responsiveness of the wheelbase is about what you do here. And that is, again, going a bit technical, we call this inductance. A winding, like if you coil up cable, you get inductance. And inductance has the characteristics to resist changes in current. It doesn't want current to change, like it's resisting this. But current is torque, because it's the current to this coil, which is doing magnetic field, which is then rotating the motor. So we want to have a quick change in current here, but it doesn't want us to.
Okay.
So that means what you want to do is to minimize the inductance that you have here. And inductance is just the number of turns that you have on here. And it's about the size. Like, if you can imagine, like an inductor of this size has a lot more inductance, a very small one has less. If you coil up more turns, it's getting more again. So you're dealing with tuning this to the optimum. If you get more windings, you get more magnet. Essentially, you get more torque, but then it's getting slower because inductance makes it slow. So this is just one of the trade-offs that I want to emphasize on here. So, and why you cannot say the bigger the better. It's about understanding the physics, understanding the motor technology, and understanding in which direction you want to go, and what the optimal compromise is.
No, that goes back to what Dennis was saying, to be honest.
So it's essentially it's about knowing your technology, understanding motor design well. And that's just the first point. And I'm not going to go in any deeper because it extends to that. Like, it's about the weight of the rotor. It should be lightweight. It's about the strength of the magnet. They should be strong. It's about the control circuit even that should react fast. And so, like, it's a harmony of different aspects of the system that you all need to get right.
Right. So again, that goes back to the saying again. Yes, you can buy the larger Newton meter just because the number is impressive. But we chose products and we put out products that give you great quality, a great feeling. And then when you look at our software, which we'll talk about in future videos, and we have many things coming regarding that, and we'll touch on a little bit. But when you pair all those things together, and we use that brain of yours, Frank, to say, hey, these are the things that we should do to allow us to have one of the best and industry-leading products on the market, you have to take all of those things in consideration. So I know Dennis wants to expand on it, so I'll let him go ahead and share his insights.
Yeah, that's the very basic. The gist of the answer is you may not always want 18 Newton meters. Most of the time you don't, but you always want great force feedback. That's what you do want. And we actually had big struggle with DFP20 as a product because everybody says it's great force feedback, but then what is it exactly? And you can't really advertise that it is great because everybody can say it's great, right? And
Right.
we actually recently put a ton of efforts with Frank to try and quantify and measure what exactly it is, what parameters there are, how much frequency can you play back, how fast can you do that? There is also like friction and cogging parameters. So how clean is the output force? How little the friction is? And I would be very happy if many people watch it and if other manufacturers measure the same, or maybe somebody from the community takes and does the measurements. And then you would actually try and see what do we optimize for the end user, because you want smooth force feedback, yet you want it fast, yet you want to reproduce a lot of frequencies. And if you consider all that, and then you think, oh, I actually drive at 12 Newton meters all the time, then the
Right.
Newton meter rating is not the most important parameter, I would say.
Right. No, I can say as an end user myself using, and I've had about 6 different wheelbases. I stopped at the DFP20 well before I started working with VRS, because after testing everything else, the DFP20 gives me the rawest feeling. The filters work amazing, and I feel like I'm attached to the car. And for me, it was the center rotation that ended up being what sold me on the DFP20. When I'm turning the car on sweeping turns, it feels like I'm attached to an actual car, and I can feel the weight of the car shifting as I'm turning into the turn. Not every wheelbase, I've learned, is able to portray this feeling in a way that feels natural and fluid, while also not removing things that I need to feel to make sure I don't lose the back tires or the front tires start losing grip. So I feel like I've had some wheelbases where you're on the edge, and then it clips. And these wheelbases were 20, 25 Newton meters, and you're like, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? It shouldn't have, it should have held as I was making this sweeping turn.
Yeah.
It almost seems like there's a limit there where I've had the DFP20 now for almost 2 years. It's like, oh my God, this is great. I'm turning into a turn, and it's not breaking. It's not losing the feel. And I've had quite a few competitors that just, after a while, it kind of gives, and then you catch it, and then it creates oversteer or understeer, and then your race can sometimes be ruined because now there's a wall, and you hit a wall, and albeit it's a game, you still want to win, So I can say those are the things that we're putting out, and I think one of you wanted to expand on that little piece there.
Yes, I wanted to pick up on that directly, because that reminds me to a requirement that we got from our coaches. And I will just literally speak it out. And what they said is the wheelbase is never, ever allowed to let go, to reduce, to not reproduce what it's supposed to do. It needs to be repeatable each and every corner, because when you are approaching a corner and the wheelbase is like fading or so, what you will think then is that you're sliding out. And that's you losing the race. That's the point. It's not allowed to do that. And that was one of the key requirements that we got first place head on.
Yeah. So what's the technical term for that? Is it holding torque? Is that what it is?
It's holding torque. It's sustained torque. Correct.
Sustained torque. Okay. Yeah. Because that's what it feels like. I'm in a corner and I'm turning, and I need this because, some corners have sweeping turns. And if it's fading halfway, like you said, now I'm thinking, oh, well, the back end's giving. I'm going to let go, or I'm going to reduce that turning angle. So that's good to hear, because, again, it now makes sense why I've stayed with the DFP20, and I've had it for so long.
And the simple answer to what we did to achieve this is one thing: make it all metal, because that's we call this thermal mass. Like you can imagine, like a piece of plastic heats up quicker than a solid piece of metal, literally. And the other thing is efficiency. We have been using the most efficient motor technology that is available on the market at the moment in this form factor. And I'm again holding up this. We call this a segmented stator. That means this is a plastic piece, like a form piece, and there is metal inside this, and you can literally wind the coil up and down in the air. And then you assemble it in pieces, put it together, And that is a quite recent development. Traditional motors have one big stator block, and you can imagine like it's on the inside, like it's closed on the outside. The opening is on the inside. So you have special winding machines with fingers that slide in, and they need to have space to slide in. So you are wasting space. Now with this technology, you can fully use up the whole space available with windings. So you get more of them, and you can make thicker windings, and thicker copper naturally has more efficiency, less resistance, can carry more current. So that is one of the things that we did to drive the efficiency up as much as possible. And one thing I want to elaborate on is if you want to compare wheelbases, say you have one wheelbase which has rated 15 Newton meters and another wheelbase which has rated 15 Newton meters. How can you tell which one will sustain longer? And the answer to that is look at the power supply. Look at what the power supply rating you have for this product. And the smaller number you have, the more efficient it is, because it needs less power from the power supply to deliver you that torque.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that power eventually gets dissipated, so it's getting into heat.
all
So the
gets
less
into
power
heat.
you take in, the less heat you generate, and
Yeah.
so you can sustain longer. Basically, your thermal mass heats up slower.
Okay. That's a lot to take in. But
That's a
again,
neat point.
from a technical standpoint, it makes total sense. From a
Yeah.
sim racing standpoint, as an end user, that's just great that you guys thought that through. And again, as you said, Frank, and you said, Dennis, this is where real life drivers and esports drivers play a big role in us understanding, hey, if it loses it in the corner, that's not beneficial to us, and so forth. So cool. That's great to hear. All right. So we've talked about obviously having a larger, more Newton meters is not necessarily beneficial, but we have the DFP15 and the DFP20. This is a question a lot of people ask and have reached out to me. So what we're going to do is first, I'm going to start with you, Dennis, and we're going to ask you, what's the difference between the DFP15 and the DFP20 that may help somebody make a decision on which one they should purchase? Not to mention, we also have the upgradable Direct Force Pro 20.
Yeah, definitely. That's a nice question with very difficult answer, and answer for everybody will be different.
Right.
What I would like to start with is why DFP15 even exists, right?
Okay.
Because we had the perfectly functional wheelbase, which performs amazing, but it's starting to get older, and many people say, oh, it may be too much Newton meters for me, or maybe it's too expensive for me. It also didn't have data connectivity. It wasn't looking modern. It has this cable and all that. And why did we even go with lower number? Why did we create this wheelbase, the 15? We tried our best to reach the most of the market. So we wanted most of the customers, most of the time covered. And then DFP20 still stays because it is still the best in some things. Like the maximum torque rating is still the best, the slew rate is still the fastest, but the DFP15 design goal was to make it as close as possible, and it even outperforms the 20 in some departments. Like it has lower friction, it has lower cogging, more modern motor. Still, in terms of driving experience, like ultimate Newton meters and ultimate slew rate, it's still this wheelbase. But we wanted something that is more appealing to the market, something that is more modern. And so what we did, we picked 15 Newton meters as a value that most suitable for, in our opinion, most use cases. And you want to be limited by that most of the time. And then we made all efforts possible to make it affordable. So if we compare upgradable 20 with 15, I think it's 200 euros difference. So you can get 15 for 200 euros less, and yet it performs amazing. I really can't wait for the engineering video to come out, because in engineering videos, we have a lot of things measured. And this wheelbase actually compares quite nicely against the 20. And so I guess the goal is achieved. I'm personally happy because we can afford people entering the ecosystem. Like people can afford enter our ecosystem, can afford enter the VRS team. We actually have the product called Team VRS, which is the coaching with multiple people in the room, which is quite affordable. So we want to get people in, we want to get people start driving and get them fast and everything, but maybe it's worth looking inside and actually seeing some changes that allowed us to make so premium force feedback so affordable. But I guess Frank can do multiple valuable comments on that.
Yes, Frank.
I can go ahead. I wanted to add on that beginning topic a little bit in the terms of what is the difference between the DFP20 and the DFP15 if you set it to the same settings. Like if you have the DFP15 full maxed out and you have the DFP20 with a 15 Newton meter option. Like even then you have two wheelbases which are seemingly the same, but they are not. I told you before in the video that it also depends a lot of the engineering that you put in. Like 20 Newton meters from one company is not 20 Newton meters from the other. Right. It will be in terms of the Newton meters, but it will not be in terms of the experience. So that's what I said. Like that's where we put a lot of effort in doing the right engineering and understanding well what this is about and what it needs to make it good. But on the other hand, and I can explain this a little bit intuitively. What you want is that and then Dennis was mentioning slew rate, and that is basically the rate at which it can achieve its next set point coming from the simulator, like how fast it can reach that. And you can also compare this or say this like it's agile, it's dynamic, it's fast, like all the terms boil down to slew rate, how fast it can change on error or adapt to the new setting or the new commanded value. And you can imagine and compare this in a way like there are portions of the system that want to resist, that don't want to move. Like, for example, the rotor, it's a mass. The mass doesn't want to move. Like if you try to turn it, it will resist. And I was talking about the inductance. That's another piece that's resisting changes. And so you can imagine like you have a ball which has a weight, and you can pull on this ball with a certain amount of strength. Like consider having a spring or so. And then it starts accelerating. And at some point it gets up to pace. And the more force you have available to pull on that ball, the faster you can make it accelerate.
Right.
It's literally, I think it's Newton's first law or so, like the apple falling.
Right.
And it's that simple. And now we have the 50 Newton meter device, which can pull on the ball with 50 Newton meters. So it has a certain acceleration. And the DFP20, on the other hand, even when we dial it down to 50 Newton meters, if you purchase that option, it will still pull. It will still accelerate with the full 20 Newton meters. That was the design decision that we made when we made this partitioning. Like we said, we had two choices. We could say, okay, this is a 6 Newton meter dialed down version. It will pull on that moving mass with 6 Newton meters. That will accelerate very slow, and that will give you a sluggish experience.
Right.
Basically, like it's not fast. It's not acting fast. We did opt not to do this. We opted to keep the full acceleration force, and it will just stop at 15. When the speed is 15, it will continue going 15. It will not go to 20, but it accelerates as if it would be the full DFP20. And that is the major difference between these two, apart from technology. What Dennis was explaining already. The DFP20 is still, even when dialed down to 15 Newton meters, is a bit faster than the DFP15.
That makes a lot of sense because I've watched, and I'm not going to share any names, but we've seen many YouTubers go out there and say, wait a minute, I've tested the DFP15 at 15 or 12, and I've tested the UDFP20 at 15. And they're like, man, the DFP15 is good, but if you've never used the DFP20, then you're like, oh my, this is the best ever. And then you get on the DFP20, you're like, oh wow, this is like, it's just that much more responsive. But it makes sense what you're saying. Yes, we limited. Yeah, that makes sense, because I've even gone back to my DFP20 because it's just I think it's the best wheelbase on the market, hands down. but I'm a little biased because one, I bought it years ago, and two, I've used every other, and they're good. I'm not going to say they're not good, but when you use the 20, it accelerates, and everything is just raw, and it just feels great in hand. So that now makes sense coming from what you're explaining. It's still moving just as fast.
Yeah. Oh, accelerating.
It's just, accelerating just as fast. But yeah, that
reaching the next
is
step. Yeah.
That's pretty great.
Still, one thing worth mentioning is that you still have friction, and you have like the cleanliness of the thing, right? How some noises, imperfections, and in this department, DFP15 would actually have an edge. So it would it would give you less noisy. It would give you less cogging, maybe less friction, because it's more modern motor. But it's just, it can't be as fast. You cannot fool physics, right? But this actually superior technology, just limited by its smaller package.
Gotcha.
So maybe some people, they may be saying, like one review that I saw, a person said, oh, the DFP20 is actually so fast and cool, but I get some noises, I get some unwanted, like, oh, it's not as clean. And then 15 is like, yeah, it's cleaner, but then it's not as fast. And that's why I'm saying it's a very difficult question to answer. Which one should you get? Because maybe you are about 200 euros. Maybe you are about the speed and like the agility and the rawness and everything. But maybe you are about smoothness instead. And that's the things that you have to think for yourself and make a decision.
Yeah, you can compare it with loudspeakers. Like the DFP15 cannot go at that volume as like a large floor standing loudspeaker, but it is more higher end. It's more accurate. It's more high end than the DFP20, which is already high end, but we have stepped it up even further.
Wow. And I think that goes back to the simple solution is, and I've said this and others have interpreted this way, 90% of users will love the DFP15. But there's a reason why we also service pro sim racers, and they want everything in far more raw in the feedback. And I myself prefer the more raw feeling because I've tested so many. It's like, man, 15's great, but the 20 just gives you that raw, visceral, like, So I think, again, it's hard to answer because we service both. And that's the great thing about here at VRS. If you want the smoothness of the DFP15 in a smaller package, and you don't want that control box that Dennis has on his desk, then you'll go with the DFP15.
Oh my
God! I had it undone, and then the cover fall off. And I think we shouldn't edit it out. It's quite nice.
Awesome. But and there's the internals. You can see all the stuff that's in there. And again, like Dennis said, though, they have a video coming that I think you will absolutely want to watch. So again, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow us here. You get in Discord. Again, ask us questions. We will be happy to share it with you. So Frank, you have the DFP15 in front of you. You've already explained it. So I'm not going to ask that question because that was our next question. So thank you you got anything to add to that before I move on to the next one?
I think that's to the detail where it can be in this format. I could go on for an hour, but I don't want to tire people as well. And it's hard to trade off to not to go too technical, but still cover these aspects. Because as I said, like Newton's law, you need to explain it because that's under the hood, basically.
Absolutely. No, for sure. Well, then let's go on to the next one. And Dennis, this is coming straight at you. And here's where, as a sim racer, I'm excited to hear this, but I'm going to let you explain it. So as a sim racer, I've heard a lot about telemetry-based force feedback. And what I've learned, it's not even a hardware thing, it's software. So I've never tested telemetry-based force feedback, and I know nothing about it, but I hear from others. Now, knowing that VRS, we take feedback from everybody, and we will consider things that will make us a better company and give the end racer the feedback or the design that they want many times because we'll take the feedback from our community. With that being said, telemetry-based force feedback, where does that stand for us? Like, where is it in the timeline of things we're working on? I know that things will come when they come because we've got to work on it. We've got to test it. We've got to go through all of the steps to make sure we give people a proper product. But where does it sit kind of on the hierarchy of things we're looking to work on?
Yeah, nice question, Ray. Thanks. We are looking at it same way as you do. We are testing actively this feature, and my opinion, similar to iRacing 360 Hertz, whenever update can make you faster or make you feel more, this is very high priority. So we are all about getting you faster, and this is currently being tested. It seems to be a very valuable thing, and this feature would allow you to feel some extra force that would hint you at things and hint you when to turn and everything. And this is obviously software, as you said. So we are working currently on testing it and exploring our options. And whenever this is ready, that would be landing as a firmware update on both wheelbases. We don't want to abandon our great product, and we don't want to push people to something else. Like, whatever choice you make, you will get supported, and VRS customer support will take care of you, and VRS firmware team will take care of the updates. So I can say that as a feature that can actually improve your lap time, this is something we rank very highly. So we are working on it. We are looking into this feature, but well, if you want to see our progress, get onto our Discord and keep asking us about it. At some point, we'll have to reply.
Exactly. Please get in. Bother us about it. Tell us how much you want it. We have a wish list in the Discord. Let us know what you think if you have tested it, and let us know, because again, any help and details you can provide will always be helpful, because again, at the end of the day, like Dennis said, our goal is to get you faster. You wanted to expand on this, Frank, at all?
Maybe just a small detail, and that is again about the Discord, because you can also nag us, because the more people are requesting a feature, the more important it also becomes to us. It's not only about, of course, we are talking with our coaches, so they are basically the turning point for us. Like, if they can get faster using this technology, then this is a clear indication for us. But of course, also if lots of people want this, then this is also a way to raise it on the ladder within VRS, because as people on the Discord know, we are listening to you.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to add one thing, is not just nag, but if you can explain to us how this feature made you faster, in which way you're using it, in which way you're benefiting from it, that would help us a great deal to keep working on it and make it prioritized.
Awesome. No, that again, I tell you people all the time, like, I enjoy working for VRS because this is the only community I've been in, and everybody knows if you get on Reddit, you might get an answer, but it might not be what you want. But VRS is really good at answering. We all are there to answer your questions. So by all means, check us out on Discord. So last question before we close this out. And you guys are going to expand on this in a future episode, and I'm going to say it again. Please make sure you guys watch this, because I had no idea how the filters and things work. And after watching it, I've been educated a ton. But I want to make sure, because somebody asked this question. So quite a few reviews have shown that our DFP15 filters and software make the DFP15 feel better than the competition. And without going into massive detail, because we do have that second video coming, can you elaborate on some sense why our DFP15, and again, I've watched reviewers say the 15 that we put out feels better than quite a few that are on the market, even some new ones that have come onto the market, why our filters and software feels better than many others, or in your estimation, why you think it's better? And I'm going to ask that to Frank.
Okay. Yes, sure. Also not an easy question, because the difficulty thing is not to go into that much detail that we are then going on in our separate videos. So I'm trying to find the right slice here right now. So put this on a high level. How did we develop these filters? That's the most important question, and that is again going back to the time when we developed the DFP20. And I can say the filters in the DFP15 are mostly one-to-one copy of the DFP20 filter. So we didn't cut off anything. Like, it's a well-proven system that we carried over. And how did we develop this? And it was basically not us engineers thinking of, okay, what do we need to achieve here and what should be the outcome? but the coaches were giving us what they want, literally. Like it was literally the coaches saying, of course, also looking at the competition back then, because we were starting from scratch. So they had experience with competitor devices. They knew what they liked and what they didn't like. And they were giving us suggestions, and then we made trials, and we gave it to them, and they said, okay, it feels too rough. I don't feel connected. And so what can we change? And that was the evolution of these filters, basically from that perspective. Like, it was actually not like I am as an engineer, I have an idea of what to do, but we didn't go this way. Like we reversed direction. We came from the application, from the people actually driving, and competitive driving, and knowing what it needs for them to feel connected with the car. That's the core turning point back then. And technically, just to touch it a bit, what I can say is that the nature of each and every PC-based simulator is that it is going in cycles. It makes a refresh cycle, or a physics cycle, they call it. It's making a small time step, maybe 1/60th or 100th of a second, going further in time. It's updating its graphics, it's updating its physics, and then it knows the next force feedback that is valid for that cycle. And then it tells it to the wheelbase. And the wheelbase, you can imagine, like, it's at that level, and then the simulator says, okay, with this next cycle, go here. And then the wheelbase, as fast as it is, especially for fast wheelbases like the one from VRS, or basically you can say every direct drive wheelbase are in this category, they go like boom. So they're in no time. And then the simulator does another cycle, and it may go here, and then it tells it to the wheelbase, and that goes live. And you can already see that it's jumping. It's not plotting a curve. It's not like a smooth curve that it's plotting. It's like it's going in jumps, and that's audible, and you can even feel it. And getting rid of that, while not deleting anything which is meant to come from the simulator, that's the difficulty part to design these filters. And I'm not going into more detail. Like there is a cascade. Like the force feedback signal is coming in, then there's step 1, and then there's step 2, and then there's step 3, basically. And that will be explained in more detail in the upcoming video.
I was actually going to say, don't spoil it.
and I can also say that we have been working with the Discord community over the last maybe 2 to 3 months even, and exploring new possibilities. I had the idea to use a filter that is more advanced. I can put it abstract here right now. And people in the community were trying it out and said, okay, this is really an advantage. I like this more, but do this instead, or do this in addition. And we're actively working on this as well. And that will be released in a very short time. Maybe, I don't know, I can spoil, but maybe in 4 weeks or 8 weeks, in a short time frame. And that is awesome. Hopefully yet another step ahead in that.
And this is, again, Discord people reaching out to us. Comment on this video down below. Let us know what you think. Like, these guys are here, and we are here to help you, again, get faster. We don't have that motto, and we don't believe in that motto just to say it. We actually believe it. And that means that Dennis now has to answer this question of what he thinks. Because, again, he's going to help you get faster. And obviously, how does you give us some input on this question before we go?
You mean the question about filters, what Frank was answering?
Correct.
Oh, right. Well, it was very nicely covered. What else can I say?
Thanks.
I'm mostly worried about user experience side of things. So I know that Frank got us covered in terms of how it feels, and I pay attention to how fast you can open the tool. Can we make update procedure more fluent? Can we make it less buggy? How can we enhance user experience? One of the recent updates was that we make single screen all of the settings instead of scrolling. And I think that was one of the great level, like, life quality updates, right? So we're trying to look into all kinds of feedback, and maybe this is how we manage to deliver such a product with such a small headcount. because all of our community is our team, basically.
Awesome. No, I could tell you the update to making it all on one screen is nice. It's better than having to scroll up and down. And I do know, and I want to, since you said that, I know people have talked about and asked, hey, can it be in its own executable file that we can download, or can it be, you know, an overlay that we can change or have access to and map things to it? And I'm going to tell everybody in the community, these are things that we have seen, and these will be questions that we can answer on a future update. So I'm not going to bog down Dennis and Frank to answer those questions. So that's the end of our questions for today. You guys have any closing remarks you wanted to share before we go?
I can say I've never done this before. I was a bit worried. Can I speak fluently? Because you might have noticed that I'm not a native English speaker. Okay,
sounds great.
Not a native English speaker, but I'm overwhelmed. Like this is such a fun experience on my side, like on the other side of the camera. Like I really appreciate.
This is awesome. What about you, Dennis?
Nice experience. Well, you are doing great with putting together questions. I think this is very valuable to know how DFP20 is different from the 15. And yes, it does have the controller box. And yes, this would fit 90% of the people. And yes, we still didn't give you a reply to this question. I'm sorry. It's a very difficult question.
Yeah, it is a difficult one, guys. And you know what? On that note, I'm going to say from VRS to you, we thank you for tuning in. We thank you for watching us. We hope that you got some really valuable insights on the gear and things that we offer, the hard work we put in. As we said in the first video, there's only about 30 or 40 of us here that work for VRS. And each one of us is passionate about sim racing and bringing you the best tools to do the job so that you get faster. So on that note, we're all going to say later, and we'll talk to you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.